You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
We're talking about an issue that's been underreported, but it's a growing issue and a growing problem in America today. The issue of elder abuse. Mickey Rooney recently testified at a Senate hearing about his personal experience excuse me, with elder abuse. In our first segment, Tracie Thurston Carrico spoke about her experience with her dad and what happened in their case. We're bringing on now elder attorney Lisa Salines-Mondello, who practices in this area of elder law. And you heard Lisa's story. Give us some general comments about issues like this and some of the issues that Lisa's family's been struggling with.
Financial exploitation of the elderly is a big problem. Some estimations in North Carolina alone that there's 10,000 people, elders a year, that are subject to exploitation or abuse. Sometimes family members make financial decisions for an elder, whether they're a caregiver or a spouse, in an effort to try to qualify for Medicaid, and that's part of a Medicaid spend down, and they transfer assets between spouses in order to get the ill spouse qualified for Medicaid. They do that because Medicaid has strict limitations on income and assets, and oftentimes they'll do a divorce from bed and board or divorce with a guardian ad litem appointed for the sick elder in order to transfer assets to the healthy spouse in order
so they can qualify for the Medicaid assistance? For
Medicaid or for assisted living, or also called special assistance that we have here
I might just interrupt and say for a moment that that's not what the case that you presented. This is different, but right. Because you maintain another motive.
We thought that might be the motive, but there was still abandonment on top of it, even after he could have qualified for Medicaid.
How appropriate is it for children and other relatives to get involved in these kind of family issues? You say there's sometimes transfer of assets so that folks that are dealing with these issues can qualify for Medicaid?
Sometimes, many times, it's the children of the elder that are taking care of the elder and providing them with care for as long as they can. And then at some point, some children feel as though they're this feeling of entitlement. So they may take their elder somewhere to execute a deed or transfer money over into their name, or they may slowly siphon off the money from the elder. The elder may not understand that this is happening. They may know that they're being taken care of and that Johnny is using their assets to take care of them, but they may not understand that he's transferring everything into his name. And then when that elder needs to apply for Medicaid, often they're turned down because of these financial transactions that have occurred prior to the application.
Tracie, in the first segment, we mentioned a 4-page letter that you sent us. In the letter you said, quote, "No one deserves to endure what he did in his final year. Not only did his wife fail him, but the system gravely failed him." The system. Is this Medicaid system broken?
The Medicaid system is broken because the system is broke. Broke meaning there's no money. So what happens is when a family goes in to apply for Medicaid, often they don't understand the intricacies of the rules and how much money you have, how much money you gifted or transferred, how much of your business you own.
So they don't advise you. They're looking to get Medicaid out of the issue so that Medicaid doesn't have to pay anything. Would you say that? They're advocating not for the people that come in, but for the government's program to
yes, they represent the government, so that when someone sits down with them, they don't say, well, if you did A, B, C, and D, you could qualify.
You could qualify.
They just say, sorry, you don't qualify, and
they're not interested in helping you qualify.
They're not interested
in
helping
showing you how you can qualify.
And so sometimes family members take rash moves. They do things because they may feel, that they're cornered, they're up against a wall, so they're trying to do something to get this Medicaid.
Do you think the government or the people that represent Medicaid in situations like this Do you think it's their responsibility to advise the people that come in about what is right and how they can qualify?
I think it should be their responsibility to, based on the Medicaid manual, to advise people when they come in, applicants when they come in, that according to the rules of Medicaid that are posted on the internet and they're available for anyone to read, including the agent that's sitting here, that they could say, you know, the manual says that.
And you know, you make a great point when you say the Medicaid system is broke. And I think that's why this is so interesting. Why I think the legal part of this with elder abuse and elder exploitation is costing the Medicaid system money. My father ended up having to go on Medicaid when his business is being successfully run here by the person who took it from him. Had the system gotten half of his assets back, he wouldn't have to go on Medicaid. Does that make sense? I think we've got to stop the financial exploitation, and the Medicaid may have more money. They should not have had to pay for my father.
So you don't think that you were given good advice, and they weren't giving advice that would have even helped the system?
No.
Interestingly enough, the very same week we got your letter, this was a very detailed 4-page letter about the issue that we've just talked about. Here at CBS 10, we also got a phone call from a gentleman who was in a Brunswick County rehab nursing facility. And he said, and I'll quote this, he said he was highly, and these are his words, not mine, pissed off at the abuse going on in the facility where he was in rehab. He said he had observed people being slapped, beaten, put in diapers without change for more than a day. He was very angry. He said he could check himself out, but a lot of residents could not. This was the exact same week we got your letter, we got this phone call. I spoke to the gentleman and I interviewed him. He is disabled and living out of the area, so he was not able to be with us today, but I questioned him in pretty detail, and we're going to talk about some of what he said to me. First of all, what's your reaction to that?
I would love to say that I'm completely shocked, but I'm not. Unfortunately, abuse of the elderly in facilities as well as at home by family caretakers is a problem, and there are vehicles that this gentleman would have been great if he would have called DSS, Department of Social Services.
I asked him why he didn't call DSS. He said he thought if he called DSS, this is his words, not mine, it would be swept under the rug. This is what he told me 2 days ago when I spoke to him. I spoke to him several times. And that if he called the media, he thought it might get some action.
Well, with Department of Social Services, it's their job for Adult Protective Services to go in and investigate these types of cases and then make a recommendation. There have been facilities that have been reprimanded regarding these types of issues, so they do their job when they're going into a facility and they're investigating if they have the information. Of course, if they walk through the hallways and nobody talks to them,
and it looks clean, and
it looks clean, and the patients look clean, they may not know what's happening. So it's really important for a gentleman such as the person that called you to let DSS know what's going on, because the only way things are going to get changed is if they have the input that they need. And
then on the heels of that is this local story that made headlines here in the paper or on TV about a caregiver at an assisted living center who was caught on a surveillance camera physically abusing a disabled resident. What I found so shocking was that the event was witnessed by several other employees who never said anything to management about it until it was discovered they were shown on this surveillance tape as witnessing this abuse. What does that imply to you?
Well, I don't want to say that would be the rule, because there are other cases where an employee of a facility does assault a resident and is caught by another employee, and they do report to management, and that employee is usually immediately terminated. The family is notified.
But there were other employees watching this abuse and didn't say anything. It implies to me that it happens all the time and it wasn't anything unusual.
Well, in that
might be a wrong,
in that facility, that might be what happens, but I wouldn't say that's the general in all facilities. And, in facilities, there's this problem of elderly being abused, and you can look for the signs of abuse, bruises on tender spots, someone who's withdrawn, but also it's the caregiver at home sometimes that could be abusing an elderly person as well, and that happens.
What should family members do if they suspect any of these things we talked about is going on?
I think that if the family member does suspect abuse happening whether in the facility or whether this is happening at the caretakers, because a lot of times there's a caretaker family member and then the other family members could be living around the country or within, right here in town. They should call DSS first. If they think there's abuse going, they see some of the signs of abuse, they should remove the person so that the abuse doesn't continue to go. Or as you were saying that you had filed a guardianship, you thought something might be happening. Filing a guardianship is something that a family member could do.
Now, Tracy, you're still pursuing this case?
Well, when my dad passed away on New Year's Eve, some things changed, but the case is being pursued in Florida from the district attorney's office there, and continuing, yes.
Well, keep us updated on how things progress.
Thank you.
Lisa, thank you for joining us. Tracy, I thank you for making the trip, and thank your husband, Jay.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you for being so candid about a very difficult situation. Next week, New Hanover County Commission Chair Jonathan Barfield and New Hanover County Commissioner Brian Berger face off right here on Byline. We'll see you next week. I'm Don Ansell.
You've been watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Join us every Sunday morning as we explore the issues that concern you.